improving my stress in negotiations, improving my stress resilience and resistance in negotiations. My name is Satu from Saga Performance, and today I have the pleasure of having Pavel Novak, who is the expert in negotiation in working globally with individuals and corporates and helping them to excel in negotiations. So welcome, Pavel.
Hello, and thanks for having me. Welcome, everyone.
Great to have you here, and we're looking forward to understanding your side of the story, your experiences, and learning from you today. So let's start with, I'm going to ask you not about negotiations, actually. I'm going to be asking first about stress. What is stress for you?
Well, stress for me is the force that is either helping you become better at negotiating or starts to kind of slow you down and causing you to be actually bad in negotiation. So I think it's an energy that can be used. And the key is to use it well, of course.
Yeah, that's so nicely said, because I do believe that, and I know that all of us need stress in our lives. The key question is, how do you manage and how do you lead your stress, especially in these kind of super important situations such as negotiations or important meetings or important life situations in general? Are you letting it affect you and affect your performance and take you to the sort of like the emotional side of you, or are you still be able to stay in control and manage the stress levels? So I'm sure that this is part of your expertise as well, that you help people understand what their capabilities are and get them through a journey of excelling and learning more about how to manage negotiations. So what is your background? Can you share a little bit about yourself?
Of course, I've been a trainer for businesses for over the last 15 years, a behavioral trainer. My original background is pedagogy, so I've been trained and I enjoy just helping people understand something. So um, I think I'm in sync with with my initial occupation.
Yeah.
And exactly as you said, the stress I think is a starting point for many people when they reach out for me. Um, just imagine asking for a salary raise or discussing your bonus at the end of the year. Uh, I know for many people, this discussion is very stressful because it kind of touches on the self-value or self-perception for many
Mm.
people. So that's why some just never ask. And those who ask find it extremely uncomfortable. So
So true.
I help them actually understand the landscape and get a kind of a helicopter view onto the situation so that they don't feel in that tunnel of, I'm going to ask and they're going to say no. And what do
Yeah.
you say about me, right?
Yeah.
So I would say the stress is ever present for negotiators. Even if you succeed, if you leave with a deal in hand, you could still kind of, it could still eat at you thinking, maybe I could have done better. Um, so knowing how to manage stress is a key skill.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And what happens in your system when you get stressed, I can give you a little intro about that. Like if you look into your nervous system, and you probably, people have heard about the fight, flight, freeze zones, that you're going into the sympathetic nervous system, or that kicks in when you're under stress, and your heart rate is going up and your heart rate variability is actually going down. And you might feel your palms sweating and your breath rate, your breathing faster, and maybe having more difficulties to actually focus. So all these are taking away the control that you're supposed to be having. And what reactions we might be seeing is that people get, well, irritated, angry, upset, scared, all kinds of emotions. And it's interesting to be hearing and seeing. I think you have a lot of experience with that as well. Like when people are actually using these kind of emotions as tactics instead of randomly expressing them because they are in the sympathetic nervous system zone or in the stress zone. So is it possible to use these as tactics instead of just going with the flow?
Of course it is, and many negotiators use them. We call them as dirty tricks or dirty tactics, such as, positional pressure or even psychological war when somebody is attacking you personally, or just the fact of time ticking away. When you look at when people give away the most concessions, it's almost at the end. The last 20% of the time when you negotiate, that's where most giveaways take place. So a seasoned negotiator is just aware of the dynamics, but also knows what he or she will do when the other person will play a dirty trick, for example.
Oh, yeah.
I need to say it's not advisable that we use that, because you can get an advantage momentarily when you negotiate and under the pressure or exerting pressure on the other party. But it's not sustainable. The next time the person will just know what to expect, or will avoid dealing with you, or will just simply make certain precautions ready so that they can resist the urge. So it's something I help people to deal with. It's not like me teaching them how to create pressure on the other party.
Right. Sounds smart. I bet a big part of this succeeding in negotiations is about preparation and learning to understand and acknowledge these kind of tactics that you could be using either subconsciously and also seeing other people use it. But I also bet that not many people are putting time and effort into preparation. How do you help, and what is the importance of preparation? Let's start with that.
I partially agree and I partially disagree, Satu, because I believe people put effort and time into preparation. Good. Especially when they negotiate something important. It's that they don't use the time well, or that they put the effort in the place where it shouldn't be placed. To give you one example, or an analogy, I can plan a route through the forest, a certain path, etc., etc. The problem with negotiation is that there is the other player, there is an opponent. So it's not like it's not going to move. There is always a certain number of certain level of uncertainty how the other person will react. So if you prepare the strategy, typically, I'm going to say this, I'm going to ask for this much money, or I'm going to propose this, then I'm going to say no, things like that. You get easily lost in the forest. So where I help people is to understand a bigger picture. And very often, and of course then the strategy, but very often, as a result of the coaching, if it's preparation for a negotiation, people realize they have a lot of homework before the actual talk. They can find out so much information before they start negotiating. They can leverage their power before they start negotiating. So for me, the preparation has like two parts. One is analyzing your situation, analyzing kind of where you are, and then working to get the most out of your cards, so to speak.
That's super interesting.
And the second part, most people just skip. They make some calculations, they make the most, the little, and their arguments, and then they go negotiate, and they'll use the time in between. So that's where the most value is created for my clients.
Great. So would you say that if a person fails or feels like I failed in this negotiation, is it usually because of that you just explained, or are there other things on top of that that, well, create failure or risk failing?
Well, I would say majority is insufficient preparation.
Mm.
But you could also face too much preparation. So, you know, imagine a multi-million euro deal on some real estate property. You know, in the Czech Republic, in Prague, there is this huge office building being built right next to one of the train stations.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine you're negotiating that deal. Probably you're working long hours, probably even overnights. And then when the negotiation happens, your brain might be just dead, or your
Mm-hmm.
energy level might be just down. So you can also overdo your preparation. But I think
Absolutely.
that's where you come in as an expert, and you
Mm.
see people being burned out or just too tired to be able to negotiate with a passion or persuasion.
Yeah, yeah. Indeed, I do work with a lot of people who feel like they've been putting so much effort into something and they've been working so hard, but it still didn't pay off. And these kind of high performers who just execute, execute, and execute, and they're having trouble of finding the optimal way of working so that they don't drain themselves and have the lack of energy and feel physically and mentally tired. And of course, the bigger or the more important role you have or deal you have that you're negotiating, the more stress and the more stakes you have there, the more important it is that you're not failing. So all these kind of stressors, they just accumulate, and then you're supposed to be sharp and high performing in that spot, and it may just backfire totally, as you described. And there, like a long-term process to help the individual, like we do with you, to help the person to understand, like, what can I do in the moment? How can I manage the stress? How can I take a more objective look, like the helicopter view on the situation, so that I'm not staying in the fire and just burning myself down? So it's very important.
Absolutely, because when you think about stress in negotiation, what it typically does, it kind of lowers your time span. So you are able to think short term, and you might even close the deal, but in the long term, it might be harmful to you.
Yeah.
So the helicopter is not only understanding the situation, but also understanding what matters and where to spend your energy and where to allow the other party to have their way, because it doesn't really matter to you. It's not like you have to fight for every parameter of the negotiation. So sustainability, which is
Yeah.
something um, that is very important, as well as the reputation of the negotiator.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because you're most likely going to be negotiating with these same people again at some point.
If you're a business person, if it's not like a holiday negotiation for a
Yeah.
discount, if you're a business person and you negotiate big deals, chances are you will be negotiating big deals again
Yeah.
with that person. So you don't want to damage the relationship. You don't want to enter any dirty tricks. And still, you need to negotiate a good deal that will also be materialized. So the implementation matters as well.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. You don't want to be remembered as the person who just totally loses it every time you negotiate. Yeah. Or uses too much power to just gets angry at everyone and runs out of the room.
And I've seen that happen, Satu,
Yeah.
with a manager who was just burning the both ends of the candle,
Mm.
not out of just bad personality, but being so desperately tired, trying too hard that he was actually causing more problems to himself by continuing. So I
Yeah.
think the stress plays an important role in being able to negotiate well.
Yeah, because it's really like these kind of examples, they exist, and you feel and you see people struggling with their emotions because that tiredness and stress kicks in. And that's why we see these kind of reactions, that almost like these animal instincts kick in, and you're not being the normal sharp professional anymore. And that's why also I talk so much about the mental preparation and the physical preparation, like for instance sleep, sleep management, nutrition. What do you eat before? What do you eat just before or the day before? And how much caffeine are you taking in? Like how much caffeine can you handle so that it won't actually be a negative effect during the negotiation? And all small things that matter. But of course, it's not just preparing for that specific one meeting. It's more like an understanding of your overall lifestyle, because it has to be the pieces of the puzzle need to be in place in everyday life, not just when you really have the important meeting.
Sounds like small things, but they can have a big impact.
Yeah.
You just reminded me, Satu, I had a client where the meeting would start and nobody knew when the meeting would end. You know, it could be 3 hours, it could be 5 hours.
Wow.
And it was on all levels of the company. You know, if you imagine the pyramid, the top manager, the people below him, even the shop directors, they would just work all the way for 8 hours
Wow.
under, you know, artificial light, no fresh air, no water.
Oof.
And when I started working with them, you know, after 1 hour, I said, you know, can we have a short break? And I went out. And one of the manager was like, you know, this is interesting, Pavel. Why you have some secrets to your time management? And I
Yeah.
was like, you know, tell me, are you tired right now? It was 8 p.m. And he
Wow.
said, no. And he was ready to go. And I said, but I see symptoms of tiredness on you.
Mm.
And you still tell me, you're still telling me you're not. So it sounds like a stupid, simple thing, but it's also one of the best advice that I can give you, not to be afraid to take a break when the negotiation really get, you know, when you get stuck, when you reach an impasse. And it even has, you know, titles in the field of negotiators. It's like
Mm.
going to the stands, going to the balcony,
Right.
um, you know, having a caucus discussion. So all these simple things, when you add them up, can have a huge effect on your effectiveness, on your performance.
Absolutely. And again, not just only in the negotiation room, like taking small breaks. This is what I preach to all the clients. During the day, you need to get either fresh air or move, something that gives your brain new energy. Because if you just go on, the quality won't be the same anymore, and you won't be as efficient after 4 hours sitting in front of the computer. It just doesn't work like that. And especially if it's a stressful momentum or situation, taking a break and actually focusing on the most important and the easiest thing, like your breathing, will give you lots of new energy and also cognitive power and calm you down. Like I often talk about this box breathing technique. Like you take this 4 second breathing in, you hold for 4 seconds, then you breathe out for 4 seconds, and you do that for maybe 3, 4 rounds or 5 rounds, whatever the time you have. And you will see the impact and you will feel the impact that it has on your nervous system. That if you were in the sympathetic nervous system, you're actually switching to the parasympathetic, the calm, rest, digest mode. And then it's much more easier to gather your thoughts and actually be focused again and enter the negotiation room and deliver.
This is funny, Satu, because um, when you are able to breathe in, hold, and breathe out and feel relaxed, it also has an impact on how much money you're leaving with at the end of the negotiation. Because
Indeed.
when you're calm, you are okay with silences. And
True.
it's one of the important takeaway for negotiators to learn to be silent and not to feel the urge to fill in every blank spot with reacting. And you know, typically when you're coming to the closure of the deal, you want to, you know, carefully consider what you say. And you don't want to just continue talking after you have given a price or after you've asked if there is a better, if there is another opportunity to collect the conditions that would be more beneficial to you. So I see a direct link with the state of calmness and the ability to stay silent and the number and the quality of the deal, or how much the pie is split, whether you give away most of it or whether you keep a good healthy percentage of the value that is being created.
That's
It's
great.
funny how these little things can have a huge impact. And of course, the higher you are in the hierarchy, the longer the span. So you negotiate for, let's say, 3 years, a partnership. Of course, the bigger the sum of money, the higher the overall sum, and of course, the bigger the risk. So the ability to keep calm can really, help you.
Yeah, definitely. So if we start to summarize our talk and also give some final advice to the people who are listening and tuning in, I believe now, first things first, we talked about the importance of preparation and the sort of the quality of preparation. Then also what to do during the negotiation. We talked about that there are tactics, but you don't want to overdo them either or misuse them. And then we talked about the stress, how to manage and lead stress, and how important that is, how crucial it could be to be able to stay calm and in control. And we discussed a little bit of tips and tricks how to work on that. Now, do you have something else that you think like this is the number one thing that I want people to take with them? Before I then go to the second question, which is maybe talk a little bit about how the programs that you and I have for our clients, what they look like and so on.
Okay. Well, there's lots of things. We can just touch the surface, but one more thing I want to mention. Typically, when people negotiate, they negotiate with much more parties and partners than they fully realize. To give you an example, when I was buying our family car, the car salesman was negotiating with my kids and with my wife.
Oh.
Although they was not there. Or our pet, if I have
Interesting.
So, and sometimes the people who are not sitting at the table but are kind of hidden are the hidden decision makers. And the same thing happens in business as well. You have one person who deals with you, but maybe it's not the decision maker. It's just the person who should start the conversation, and this decision maker is sitting in another room or is not there at all. And that gives you the signal that you have some more homework to do and to really understand who are the people you're negotiating with. So that would be my one more piece of advice, like do a map of stakeholders for every negotiation that you are leading.
Brilliant. I love that. Very important. And then the final question or final part of discussion would be, how do we work with the clients that we help together, and what kind of programs do we have to offer? If you want to start, I can fill in.
Yeah, sure. We prepared a very special, very unique program, and I'm so excited about it. It's called Master Coaching for Executive Negotiators. And it's like a combined program where of course, you will be talking about it. You are using the data that are reliable and scientifically collected. And I use something called Negotiation Dojo, which is an online workout place where you just come and you negotiate with a person you've never seen, never met, potentially from another culture. And this is where we see you negotiate, we see how you handle stress, and it's kind of the starting point. And from there, we have series of sessions and steps on your journey to really help you uh, get the better physical fitness and mental fitness, and also learn the best practices of how to spend your time preparing for a negotiation. So in the end, it's not that you would prepare longer, but you would prepare different things to succeed at negotiating. And of course, the overall purpose is to transform your results, transform how you feel, and also transform how you lead, how you negotiate. But Satu, of course, you can add more, your angle.
And that was a very good explanation already. From my side, I would say yes, as I mentioned earlier, the heart rate variability are great indicators of stress and where you are in the nervous system. So that is something that we've taken in. So with a device, even though we work totally virtually, but you can at your home or at the office, use the device where we measure and get objective data on how you stress, how you react to stress, how you recover, and how you perform overall. So that gives us a starting point. We do a measurement for 3 to 4 days, and then we repeat the measurement again at the end of the journey after a couple of months, after 3 months, and we will see what way were you able to implement those changes in your behavior or daily activities so that you can cope with stress and lead situations in everyday life in a better optimized way. So I think that is the cool part that we've now put together with the amazing skills that you, Pavel, have from negotiations and are able to help people really to take the next level in their negotiation skills.
Absolutely. And one last thing, or two things actually. It's a step-by-step process. So you are actually building up, and the compound knowledge after the 90 days or 3 months is just transformational. I've seen that happen with clients, that 3 months is short enough and long enough as well to reach something substantial. So that's why I'm so excited, because with the technology available these days, you can measure, eye contact. You can measure how long how long is the pause before they react online. So with the technology advancement, more and more data will be available. And I think the first beat is just a beautiful step for people to become truly aware of what is happening with them.
Yeah.
Because Satu, that's one more thing. When I train negotiators, it's also about raising self-awareness, because the most dangerous combination is I'm not aware of my emotions, I'm not aware of my stress, and I don't think the result, I'm causing the result of my negotiation.
Yeah.
So you end up blaming the other party and totally unaware of being stressed or angry or in a flight mode, hoping, waiting for the negotiation to finish. So the self-awareness and enhancing based on the real data, you can't beat that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like the Formula One driver knowing exactly the pressure in the tires, the pressure of the engine, and of course the time per lap. So this is what we'll be doing.
Exactly.
Lap by lap.
Yeah. Training, and analyzing and optimizing and so on. Great. This has been a great chat, Pavel. If people want to learn more about you, I'm sure you have some links that we can put below as well on the post, but where can they reach you?
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn. So you can reach me there, and we'll include my website. So there's a phone number or my email. So any way that's convenient for you.
Great. And also same here, as usual, Saga Performance can be reached through the website. You can email me, and you can also use LinkedIn or Instagram to reach out, or even Facebook. So there are multiple ways of connecting, and also if you want to get started with a program, obviously just get in touch with myself or then Pavel, and we'll help you out. So thank
Perfect.
you, Pavel, for this, and looking forward to speaking with you soon again.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.